Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest Anfield Index Under Pressure podcast. My name's Dan Kennett, and with me to go through the painful 3-2 defeat at Arsenal, I've got the full crew with me. I've got our resident data collection, pressing data collection, and video analyst, Mr. Daniel Rhodes. Good evening, Dan.
How apt was it that Guy said if you fuck up in the first minute, just let me know, because
that's producer Guy for everybody who's listening.
That's what Liverpool did.
Yeah.
We've been blessed with a lot of good results in the past 3 or 4 years, but it is pretty grim at the moment, Dan.
It is. Sadly, it is, but we are going to try and give you some objective analysis, and we're going to really try and keep it as objective as we can. And then I do have the dynamic sports science duo. I've got coming live from his ivory tower at Middlesex University. It's Dr. Phil Barter. Evening, Phil.
Evening, Darth, mate. It's good. I think I'm starting to feel like you guys did with the 6 defeats in a row part of one season. But it's our time at the moment, but we'll get through it.
Yeah, we will. But we got our most practiced sports scientist, the man I did a double header two defeats on a 2-man pod during that horror run. Si, it's Mr. Simon Brundish.
Evening, boys. That was a brutal time, wasn't it? But this feels worse.
It does feel worse.
Yeah.
I think we had time to get used to that, and we had lots of very obvious reasons to justify it.
Yeah. Just actually on that, I have coincidentally I was going to bring it in later, but I've actually got some numbers on our worst runs under Klopp. And this is statistically, objectively, this is currently our fourth worst run. So since the start of the season, 11 games, won 4, drawn 4, lost 3. And it's 10 points from 24 in the Premier League. So that's 42% of points won. Do we want to have a guess which the other 3 were? We've got one of them. What were the other 2 runs which are worse than this, chaps? Anybody?
One when we were just about to get in the Europa League final in his first season.
Not quite that late, though. It was 6th of December 2015 to the 9th of February 2016. So that was an 18-game run in all comps, of which we won 5, drew 6, lost 7.
There's got to be another January in there somewhere.
Yeah. And we in that 2015 run, we were 12 points from 33 in the league, which was 36% of points.
Yeah. So
which January do you think it is, Bart?
The one with the V-neck kit and Mo getting 42 got maybe? I know, maybe not. The Champions League run to Kiev, maybe? Is that right? No. Or season before that?
It's the year before, where we just got top on New Year's Eve after beating Man City.
Yep.
And then we ended up. Where's it gone?
Was that a Ginny header, wasn't it? Is that right?
We won that game, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we went on a run.
After we won the league.
Yeah. Then we went on a 12-game run in all competitions of 2 wins, 4 draws, and 6 losses.
I mean, what the team that was one of the 3 of all time that didn't win the league after leading on Christmas Day?
That was them.
Yeah.
So we won 2 of the next 12 in all comps, and we were 7 points from 21 in the league. That's 33% of points. And then the crowning turd in the water pipe is the lockdown season. So from 27th of December to 2020 to the 7th of March 2021, it's a 17-game run. We won 5, drew 3, and lost 9. And we were 12 points from 42 in the league, which was only 29% of all points.
Nine defeats.
in 17 games.
6 in a row, almost something, isn't it?
Yeah. And we didn't score from open play for something like 102 shots, wasn't it, or something, Rhodesy?
Yeah, I think we won 9 or 10 on the bounce after that. So fingers crossed.
Well, this is what I mean. Yeah,
with Nat Phillips and back and all sorts of nonsense at centre back.
So there's your context, listeners. Anyway, about the current run. But yeah, so let's talk about Arsenal 3, Liverpool 2. As always, we're going to start off with the lineups and game plans. So, Si.
So
talk to me about Liverpool.
Let's use the idea that we had 5 full days between games because it was a Tuesday, Sunday. So this is an opportunity during the 13 games in 43 days not to change the team because they were fully rested. So we started the game in what I thought was a fairly reductive argument in the first place. And let's keep the same team that played so well against the second-rate or third-rate even team on Tuesday. Maybe there was some thinking but that we need to refine the system and get some reps under the belt because at home to a borderline Division 1 side is the same as away to the team at top of the league. So let's full on go all out and press, play 4 up front and our 2 in midfield against their strongest unit. And see how that rolls, eh?
What would you have done, Si? Would you just played Fab instead of Nunes or Jota?
I would have played Fab instead of Henderson.
Of course, but I mean, so you just kept the same formation, but just changed those 2.
Yeah, I don't really like them doing that thing, but if you're going to, okay, I don't agree with this systemic change, but I think if we're going to do it, it requires very different things than the things we saw. You can't play 4-2-4. You just can't play 4-2-4 in a top division side against any kind of competitive opposition, particularly one that builds through midfield.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. What would you have done? What would have been the best approach then?
I would have played somebody else in midfield too.
So like an actual 10 who's a midfielder rather than a second striker.
Yeah, or I'd have just gone back. I'd have just used the tried and trusted shit show of a 4-3-3 that we're not doing very well for the last 5 years, but we've refined and everyone kind of knows their role, and stop having inverted fullbacks because that's stupid.
Yeah.
So you would have gone back to a flatter 3 in midfield, maybe with the more traditional fullbacks,
or played Bobby.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not even a flatter 3. I've got absolutely no. I think there's
Fab with 2 8s.
Yeah, because that actually goes man for man against the way they play. They play a 2 and a 1 in midfield, and we usually play a 1 and a 2 in midfield. Do that.
2 overlapping fullbacks who go on the outside of Salah and Diaz rather than on the inside.
The thing that we used to be so good at. But if this is, I understand, if this is the thing that we're going to do, and this is how Klopp sees the next evolution, and I understand the idea, we talked about it on Tuesday around, or on Thursday, whenever we did the last pod, around the front 4 as they are, with Jota behind Nunes, and that positionally, that creates the second layer for the press. It creates the triangles, which then leads the opposition theoretically down to specific cul-de-sacs that we want to basically Thiago can recover possession from. I understand that, and what we're trying to do is limit the dynamic running necessary. So you've got much smaller zones for each player to play in. It could work, maybe.
So you just think he should carry on doing this to give it time to gel a bit more? Or
I don't think that, but I think that's what he thinks. Okay. I think he has refined. I think what they've done is gone from the most expansive version of the thing he believes fully in, and which requires the most physical capacity. It empowers each player that we have to be the most cerebrally efficient, cognizant players they can be, make the right individual decisions within this team system. And what he's done is he's distilled it down to Lego blocks. because there was nothing. So it's the least sophisticated version. And we've gone from an incredibly sophisticated system down to Lego blocks. You stay in this zone and do this one thing until we can refine that. And it's created like this really, the idea is to create a solid foundation that gives nothing away, and everybody stays in their same unit, the same block, which creates a unit. And that's what I think the idea is for this.
It's not working though, is it?
So
we only played twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and to be fair, we talked about this last time. Si. I mean, he did play this formation for the majority of his managerial career, didn't he?
No, he didn't. That was a much more sophisticated and like interchanging version of this, and lots of players had differing roles. And this is the Luddites version. I think because it's so reactive. This isn't the thing that they'd planned originally with lots of sophisticated nuance. What they're trying to do is go, right, this is to the basic level of the thing you do as a player, each player, and don't try to expand upon that, because we have too many players that are making individual choices that don't fit within the collective right now. So what we're trying to do is reduce your options of making choices. So now you only have 3, not 307 is what you had before.
Yeah, but what in terms of playing?
So it's
with
a 2-3. It's a 2-3-1 on
Yeah.
paper. On FIFA, it looks like what Dortmund did.
But Dortmund played with a 9. They had double pivot, and like they had better 10s and proper 10s, and other, like you said, there was more sophistication. But ultimately they played with a 9 and a double pivot, right?
Yeah, but their right winger was a very, very different player. He was a utility player, not a winger, not like an attacking fulcrum. Their left back, their left winger maybe was a little bit more similar to Diaz. I just think that the tools at his disposal in the system that they played before were just different.
Okay.
But if we're going to go on numbers, it was a 4-2-3-1. I actually don't think we're playing a 2-3-1. I think we're playing a 4-4-2, a 4-2-4.
Yeah. But Klopp said again, well, the system is 4-4-2. That's what he calls it anyway, doesn't he? So, but yeah. Okay. Barts, Arsenal, they pretty much as you were, right, for where they have been the whole season.
Yeah, I mean, ignoring the Europa League in midweek, Zinchenko was injured, so they brought in Takahiro to play at left back. Other than that, it's
Tomiyasu.
It's their first. Is that it's the Japanese lad playing 18? Yeah, Tomiyasu. Oh yeah, I went to his first name. That's their team. You know, the midfield's the same. They're slightly different. Maybe they change the shape a little bit in the midfield now and again, but generally they have Gabriel and Zalaba at the back, 2 fullbacks. With Ben White, their £50 million centre half playing right back. Xhaka and Martinelli on the wings. Jesus up front. Osgaard in the hole, and Xhaka and Partey being the 2 nominal sitters, and that's their team.
Yep.
Decent XG. I mean, was it? Understat I've got them at 2.6G versus just over 2 non-penalty XG per game and 0.9 against per 90.
So when we did on the internet, the break between, the enforced break period pod, we did say that Arsenal had the underlying numbers of a solid 3rd/4th place team. Yeah,
very much so. So, and that's what they were, wasn't it? Really,
Yeah,
refined.
Yeah. So, Rhodesy, let's talk about that match summary.
Yeah. Doesn't get any better this season, does it, Dan? So, like just mentioned then, so I've got across the 6 models, I've got 1.9 for Arsenal, 0.8. Obviously, that's non-penalty. We was outshot 11-8. Shots in the box, they had twice as many as us, 10-5. 7 shots on target to 3. 3 big chances to 1. Although I digress again on Opta's values, because I've got them with 5.2 and above chances, so they could have had 5. But perhaps most interestingly and most worrying is the 47 touches in the box that Arsenal had compared to our 19. Just looking at our worst ever we conceded 48 touches in the box against Man City in 1920 when we beat them 3-1. And the previous worst to that was 45 again against Man City in 16-17. We didn't lose that game either. And we had 42 against Southampton. So this was our worst penalty box difference under Klopp. It hadn't got as bad as this. Minus 28. We both had one defensive error each. The XG models for once were pretty much in agreement, apart from Optima, who had us slightly ahead at 1.13. The rest of them had us at 0.8, 0.8. So yeah, it's pretty grim, Dan. There's not much good to say about that.
I would say that going into this match, Arsenal were top of the league for touches in the box per match this season. They were averaging, I think it was over 44 or something.
Above us, okay, so that's interesting.
So this is something that they have been doing all season. And I know they didn't all complete, but in this game they actually attempted 6 dribbles inside our box. I can't remember last time we faced an opponent who made 6 dribbles or attempted 6 dribbles inside our box.
In the Premier League this season, I've got us penalty box touches at 41. Yeah, so they would have been top. Yeah,
yeah.
It wasn't good. Even if you look at the fact that we went down 3 times, so that should mean that we should have had higher volume of shots in reply. We didn't get any of that kind of kick. All in the first half, they didn't have anything really between their first and second goals. They had a couple of counters, but they didn't have anything concrete.
Yeah, there's a couple of offsides, wasn't there, as well? Yeah. So but that was just the 2 big. It was the story of the 2 big chances that literally the first kick and the last kick of the half. It was quite mad, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd really wanted to try and avoid a numbers debate on 4-4-2, 4-2-4, 4-2-3-1, whatever. I wanted to try and let's focus on what the shape of the team was and the roles of the players within the team in the various phases of play. And I wanted to start actually with the off the ball. What was our shape without the ball, right, Si? Because my understanding of Tactics 101 is that one of the advantages of playing a 4-2-3-1 with a double pivot, or a double pivot at least, is to provide you defensive solidity, right? That's what my tactics textbook tells me.
Yes, but like it depends which phase you're in. So in negative transition, then you absolutely should be having two midfielders drop by the 2 centre backs. But in how we got caught out is that we had possession. There was very quick counter pressing opportunity, and whether Klopp no longer wants to counter press at all, which I think is unlikely, or you would still have to make an allowance for players that have been programmed for 7 years to counter press, that they might counter press, because there was a very real counter pressing opportunity. So much so that Jota even won the ball straight back and made a bad pass, followed up by the second wave, which is very, very normal in Thiago. And it's just the things that happen behind Thiago cost us significantly a problem, that no one else followed that to block that or prevent the outlet pass. And then we were caught on the run. So yeah, theoretically, we should have two deep set central midfielders that would block the pass into whoever is their forward player, and one would go and seek their 10 to stop either the pass into them or to stop them from turning. And we didn't really do that. They play with 3 really high players, so our fullbacks should specifically be occupied most of that time anyway. And then it should, our natural front 4 should be one really should be around Party, and the other two, the two wide players, should be occupying both of the fullbacks, who they generally tend to play from the left, but not with Tomiyasu in there. So Mo could generally go and help out with Martinelli. But the idea where you would be set with those two in midfield blocking up and passing through, so you should get way fewer through balls in this game.
That would be the benefit. One of the benefits of our shape in this game, reducing,
very
reducing
much. But it also should,
balls.
and it also should that they should change that autonomous thought of or not thought of the first action is stick or can I twist, rather than twist or should I stick?
Yeah,
and that is, it's a very different thought process than is normal amongst these Liverpool players. But in those midfield players, both of those have to have that thought first.
Okay. But what do you? Anything you want to bring in on the change of shape and the strengths and weaknesses without the ball?
Yeah, I think Si's right. The two should help, for me, block the passing lanes in between the centre halves, depending on where ball side is. And the side's last point is critical. Rather than going for the press as the first instance, it should be to hold. So the first goal, if you look at that, yes, it's a counter-pressing opportunity, but Hendo comes over to try and press and win it rather than sit. If he sits, he's a better chance of blocking the through ball in behind.
Thiago commits as well, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, but that's the counter press. So that's normal.
Do that with one player, player should do that.
One player should do that and one should sit, because then Hendo can block the. So if the ball comes through, what Si said there is, rather than going and twisting, he sticks. If Hendo does that and sticks, he's got a far better opportunity to defend the through ball that splits our defence. And then they score,
well,
yeah?
If he was deeper, he would just be able to see Odegaard.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm saying, but because he doesn't do that, he tries to go, I'll go and help out and press.
Yeah, and then Odegaard just runs off the back of him.
And runs off the back.
And Saka finds him.
And Saka finds him. So that is the little bit where getting well drilled in the system, I don't know. And that's, I don't know where we should go there, but if you pick players that are used to playing in a 2, there are some things that become automatic to them, right? Henderson has only ever played in midfield in a 3 or as a 6. A 6 or an 8, yeah?
Yeah, in the last 3. In the last
in his career
years.
for a club, yeah?
Yeah.
Not in his career. He's played as a 2 before. Me and Darth both thought that him and Chan could have had the potential to be the best 2 in the country, but he hasn't played for a long time there.
For a long time. What I'm saying is Fab and Thiago have spent a lot of their time playing in 2s. And this is where also I think personnel, if you're trying this new things out, maybe it's better to go with people who are just used to playing in a 2.
So you say round pegs in round holes?
Yeah, they're used to playing as a 2.
Well, if we are trying to go back to basics, like Si said, Lego blocks and stuff, it does make sense to me. Round pegs in round holes, and the rounder the peg, the better.
Rather than trying to constrain,
constrain,
and because it's not natural to them, they go and do something else, and then like, oh crap, and then for 40 minutes you get the period between the 2 goals, and we were largely creating some good stuff. We had some good waves, but unfortunately, that first error in the first minute sets the tone. You know, as we said.
You were kind of quite constructively positive about the in between the second, like this, from the second minute to the 48th minute. What were you?
Yeah, it's just that I thought that but it was one of the first. We were away at the Emirates. We got back into the game. We looked good in our transitions, I thought. In hindsight, it was until Diaz got injured, really. And there was a half an hour period where Diaz and Nunes were looking very dangerous. And Arsenal didn't look, it looked to me that Arsenal had almost run out of ideas.
I thought we imposed us. If you look at the wave chart, if you look at the pans there, we had 3 good peaks of activity which had shots in them. And one of them was a goal. We had the penalty in there. I mean, me and Si were chatting on the WhatsApp this afternoon about instances where if a player had made a better decision, we would have had a a far better chance. Ideas on, I think it's on 13 minutes, decides to cut back and have a shot rather than just roll it across 6-yard box for 2 players to tap in. Yeah, he does the same thing on 18 minutes. So it's just, I think we were in the game and we were creating opportunities, but then it comes down to decision making in the other end of the pitch, which we know Diaz and Nunes and the rest are new, and they're getting. I mean, Diaz has been long enough, but they're still not making, in my mind, the right call often enough.
Yeah.
The weird thing is, Dan, I don't know what you guys think, but we built our foundation, our brilliant 134 games where we were the best team, one of the best teams of all time, on being absolute ninjas in both boxes.
Yeah.
We were the best in the world in both boxes.
Yeah.
And we made the right decisions in the middle to get us to get us into one box and keep the opposition out of the other box. And now we are really good at clogging up possession and shit in both boxes.
Yeah.
We become Man United in 2015.
I was going to say we've become Brendan.
Yeah, but just to highlight a point, you know, your point about touches in the box and them getting in behind. If you look at the EPEV pass maps for Arsenal, they go round into the hot zone, so they avoid zone 14. So they go round, and it's the old City tactic. You know, when they get to the byline, pull it back to penalty spot. The number of times Arsenal did that on attack is that reason. They dribbled into the box, pulled it back to PK, and then they had 2 players on coming for a shot, and we'd either get blocked off or we panicked. We tried to clear it, didn't clear it. That's their pattern of play.
But they were also they forced. We were always under stress when they got into our box. It wasn't like they had 15 passes to get into our box. No. They were getting into our box with 3 passes, and we were getting into theirs when we'd already had 25 passes.
25, yeah, for sure. It's just that their play is quite simplistic in that way, and they've got both boxes worked out. Whereas, as I said, we're taking so long to get anywhere. And the decision's not right.
So let's just before we start to talk about the on-ball side of things, there's 2 big things I want to talk about off the ball still. First of all, quickly, Si, the running and the sprinting. Been a theme all season. How did we do in this game?
So we lost total distance, which really, we've talked about this before. Only as a trend does it matter over a season for effort, but we lost total distance 106 to 104, and we were down 430 meters in sprint distance as well. So that's 2 players basically. It's just, there is an effort thing, but we also had, for the first time under Klopp, and I don't think I've ever seen this outside of a World Cup, 3 players taken off injured. That's significant anyway.
Yeah, 2 of them were contacts.
That's going to alter physical things as well.
Yeah, one of them was soft tissue, and 2 of them were contacts. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose Diaz was contact. Yeah. One of them's fatigue. The other 2 were from tackling incidents for sure. Yeah.
So yet again, my question. The only reason that we continue to touch on this is until it ceases to become a trend, then we'll stop talking about the distance and the sprints again. But Si, question to you is the biggest reason for the change of shape, or one of the biggest reasons, are physical capacities for sprinting and running?
Well, whether it's the desired outcome or not, I have no idea. But what I can say is that the change of structure, it limits the role of everybody, so there's less running required from one zone to another zone.
Yeah.
So it reduces the physical demands on each player.
So let's just surmise, for example, just for argument's sake, we are suffering large-scale burnout from last season amongst the squad. This would be a way of managing that to whilst still managing to put in players so where they are going to exert themselves less physically.
Yes, theoretically, you're gonna move as a team more. There's going to be less full pitch transition. That we should see less basketball and less risk, which causes multiple turnovers. So instead of having 107 turnovers in a game, let's keep it to 80, and then there's less emergency running, which is the problem.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Brilliant. But the other big one, Rhodesy, off the ball, is the pressing. And my. Pressing in this game. Wow.
Well, I'd hoped to to see something like a little bit more consistent building on the Rangers game. But unfortunately, I saw the opposite. I also saw, like in the first half, like I was trying to look at what you were seeing, Dan, trying to see if I could see that in the pressing. I thought the first half was the worst in terms of our pressing. Maybe that's clouded by a couple of incidents that led to goals. Couple of overcommitting and then someone not covering, which is, I guess, what you want in a 2. But it was a lack of group presses, virtually hardly any in the first half. I think the pressing efficiency in the first half was, it felt like around 60%, which is one of the worst I've ever seen, even including the Napoli game recently. No chains, very few possession wins. A lot in the second half was just pushing them back. So that's what they wanted because they were winning quite often. And it was, really, really disappointing. Virtually no XG, Dan.
Well, everything was low. And I mean, and the first thing that you've got to stand out, Rhodesy, when you look at it, is that it was the same amount of presses as we had against Rangers. We had 136 against Rangers, 140 against Arsenal, right? Last season, we played Arsenal. This is the third time we played at Arsenal, at Arsenal's ground this year. It's a
really good viz you've done there, Dan, with all 3 put together.
Yeah, and I'll be sharing that from the account later, the Twitter account later. So League Cup semi-final second leg, 20th of January. We had 54% possession and we made 203 presses. The league game on the 16th of March, we won 2-0 again. 52% possession, 281 presses. That was the 16th of March. That's not even 7 months ago. And then this game, 56% possession, 140 presses. And it wasn't just the low volume, Rosie, and the lack of intensity. The Papa chart is on the floor after the first 15 minutes.
Yeah,
which is nuts. It's the locations. It's 52% of the pressing is in our defensive third.
Yeah, it's not like Arsenal don't like to knock it about the back. There was definitely a sense of they weren't even trying to press high. It was a tactical thing. So it wasn't even an intent. And I spoke about, I think it was Jota's first game back when he started, is he was leading the press and then the players were following.
Yeah.
It kind of was like with Nunes there, we weren't even attempting to do a high press. We were just trying to keep it to the middle third. But when you do that with a middle third and then you've got players committing on the counter press, like Thiago did it a couple of times, but he did it 3 or 4 times, and twice we won the ball and then counter-attacked and made a bad decision, which you two are going to highlight later on. So then we exposed their high line, which is what they had, but we let them have high line. So it was like we were trying to invite them on, which is a very un-Klopp thing. But then it does expose you if the person behind. So if you've only got 2 in midfield and one's trying to help with the counter press after your front line's gone, and it's not a front line, it's a front 4, and then Thiago's trying to back that up, trying to win the second ball. If Arsenal nick that, if the guy behind him's doing nothing, and it's not that he's not trying to do nothing, it's that he can't decide which player he should be covering. So then he's not covering anybody. And then Arsenal are just breaking on you. I'm sure you'll share on the Twitter feed as well. It's a lovely phrase you put in the group. Henderson everywhere and nowhere. 7 fails. 7 fails in central areas. It's about as good a descriptive. If you've got a 2 in midfield and at times both of them are missing pressing chances, but one of them should be covering for the other, and it's still failing, what chance have you got? They're just going to keep breaking on you.
Yeah. I mean, my question with the pressing was going to be when this is the first big game we've played with the change of shape. So we can't say if this is a one-off or if this is the start of a new plan, a new evolution. And if it is no longer final third gegenpress that way, if it's if it's a mid to low press, that would be a sea change in tactics, right? But maybe that's what the change of shape is for. Who knows, right? Yeah. But Barts and you know, we usually just me and Rhodesy chat about the pressing, but I know this is the kind of thing that interests you as well. What are your thoughts looking at the first detailed pressing analysis of the new shape in a big game?
I think as Rhodesy said, it's the loss in essential areas is the concern for me, because those two, I know no one's going to be perfect, but you've got two in there to do a certain job, and if they're not, then that's going to lead you exposed as what happened. They were passing in behind. I suppose we chatted last week about how Jota gives you a bit of energy in that, but he does a little bit of the Bobby off the ball, if you like. But without the four up front doing anything, the two behind have got to be amazing, because there is no stopping that ball getting recycled in front of them. Yeah. So if you look at Arsenal's build-up, it is recycled like a U round. They just keep recycling it, and then they pick off and play a ball in behind. That's what they generally did with their possession. And then if they came in the middle, we'd foul a press, and then they'd walk through the right side or the left side. Which, do you know what I mean? So Núñez is not going to press as we want him to, clearly, but I'm not sure we can carry on if we're going to do this with Jota being the one-off. I think we have to find another way to box that in. I would just also say, because both of Arsenal's wingers are decisive, play high, and they're both rapid, right? Xhaka, and Martinelli are very, very good players. They forced our fullbacks back. And the one thing we noted about the Rangers game is that Costas often helped out further up, if you like, which meant that Diaz could come in and support in a 10 position. Yeah. Now, because Costas was forced back dealing with Xhaka, it meant that Diaz may have probably had too much ground to work on his own. Yeah. And Costas, in that situation, you've got to be brave, or you've got to stay at home and go, do you know what, I'll just deal with the run. And he chose to do the latter rather than be brave and impose himself on Xhaka the other way. And this is hindsight, obviously, you don't know what, but I'm just saying, the thing I noticed about on the ball, which also affects off the ball because it's counter-pressing, right? You know, is the two in the middle there with Diaz and Jota helping each other out. And we couldn't do that this game because Costas couldn't offer that width because he was too occupied with Arsenal pushing back both our fullbacks.
Well, do you know how many? So not just the players you mentioned, but do you know how many presses Salah and Diaz had in the final third in this game?
No, off the top of my head. Sorry, go for one
between them. I mean, that they were largely either side of the halfway line. That is again, that's another sea change. Is it just a one-off game? Who knows?
Who knows? But but the one time we pressed their keeper, led to the goal.
Yeah, but
he puts it straight out of play, right?
Jota's pressing was largely the other side of the centre circle in central areas, in front of the centre backs, and you can see that makes sense where he was his role there. But it's so. Si, before we move on to the on-ball stuff, do you have any thoughts about this? It's a seismic shift in the pressing strategy in this. I don't think I've ever seen such.
I think we decided to go. I think we abandoned pressing and went for a low block. And a couple of times we were caught out trying to counter press because that's what we've been so programmed to do. Yeah. We can nick it and get a goal here. And obviously one time caught us out. But I think the plan, which is so counterintuitive from the selection, was to drop off, allow them to play the ball out the back, block off the passing lanes, because they've got a couple of lads who, Gabriel and who's the Love Island dude that plays at the right back?
White.
Ben White.
Yeah, there you go.
Love Island dude.
Yeah. They love to bring the ball out. Like they like to carry the ball, and we wanted them to carry the ball. Because if they carry the ball, they all squeeze out. It creates the high line. The high line isn't a defensive action caused by them trying to count people offside. It's caused by them having possession for any kind of length of time. So we want them to have possession, so they gradually squeeze up which creates space in behind for Nunes. So I think what we were trying to do was allow them possession, unless they were unstable, where we could go counter press in the first 2 seconds. But as soon as they got past the first 2 seconds, we were back off to halfway, and then block passing lanes, and then press Xhaka or the idea, I think, should have been Partey, even though Partey's obliterated us before at Anfield on his own. He was amazing in being press resistant, but I think the idea was to catch them on the half turn, block passing lanes into Saka and Martinelli, and catch the midfielders on the half turn once the ball was badly played in there, because those Arsenal defenders don't pass well, but they do carry well. And I don't think, playing Jota where he played to do that role makes very little sense to me, but they know him better than I do.
Okay. So
my last point, Dan, just on the again the crucial factor of group efficiency. Firmino had 19 on his own, but 100% efficiency in groups. Hendo improved from 71% to 80% in a group. Jota's was slightly down, but Thiago's was 100% in groups. Diaz was 100% in group. Nunes was. Gomez was.
But the group pressing overall was very low in the search.
Yeah.
It was, and there was the word, and it was
again, every time they're doing it, it's working.
Yeah, and the pressing change was extremely low. It was like it was a very defensive minded press, which
defensive minded individual.
Yes,
pressing.
Yes. So, Si, if you think it was a strategic decision for this match, Joey, the next question is: do you think it's a strategic decision to use with this system going forward, or just for this match?
No, I think it's the idea of getting Nunes. I think we're changing a lot for Nunes.
Okay,
is to create spacing, because I would like us to have done this for Mo, but Mo's busy playing right back.
Yeah, true.
They're not when we haven't got possession, they're not fucking about with our wide players playing midfield. They are thoroughly double banking, tucking back in, like Diaz and Mo were both in the box quite a lot, which leaves them fried by the time they have to get up the other end of the pitch. There was one moment in the second half, a terrible moment with Diaz. Not second half. It was towards the end of the first half, when it was right before Diaz's injury, actually, where he made one of his stupid decisions again, because he's dumb. I'm convinced he's dumb. And the ball broke from our box, and Mo literally was stood in our box, and then the ball ended up being in their box, and it got knocked over. Diaz went into their box and dribbled a little bit before making a pullback, or trying to shot and making a pullback. That Mo eventually came to Mo on the right wing, but he'd already ran from their box to our box, all the way back to their box again, because that's his new role.
Yeah,
it was almost like 2012 Suarez, where he was so knackered all the time from having to beat all 17 players on his own. He was too knackered to take the shot.
Well, maybe we're just trying to recreate his Egypt environment for him, where
So, Si, we were talking about.
He's used to it there, Kai.
We're talking about in the Rangers game. I know it's a different opponent, but we were saying if Mo's picking up the ball like halfway line-ish, he's got space to then dribble into. Are you just saying that the fact that he's doing so many grafts forwards and backwards means that once he does even get any ball, which we'll touch on with Trent's distribution to him, which has always been a key factor in our success, the fact that he's not getting any distribution from Trent and then having to graft up and down the pitch, when he does get on the ball, his effectiveness is going to be severely reduced.
His effectiveness, undoubtedly is going to be reduced if you've increased the defensive workload, then your offensive workload is going to go down, because energy is finite.
So, are you saying that overall in the system, the roles are there to in the new shape to reduce the amount of transitions and reduce the amount of, except in the right
for the wide
midfielders.
Midfielders.
Yeah, okay,
that's it.
Which is why Klopp's saying 4-4-2 and you're saying 4-2-4.
Well, as soon as we got the ball, they're going stood by the fullbacks. But as soon as they haven't got the ball, they're full on back behind with our defenders. So it is a fairly modern 4-4-2, I suppose. But
even 4-4-1.
Yeah.
So are you saying that Salah is now Ray Houghton?
I'm exactly saying that thing. Yeah, he's a left-footed Ray Houghton.
But he's also in his 30s doing that. Like,
yeah, I'm not worried about him physically, but I just think I would love to sit down in a room and chat with Jurgen and Pep about their design for getting the best out of this team this season. I think they're hugely off.
I think we'd all love to do that.
So we basically let's shift on to the on-ball stuff, right? So we have basically got our biggest ever contract handed out to Mo Salah, and he is now one of the players. I'd say he's the player whose role has been most impacted by this change of shape. Is that fair?
Yeah.
In terms of his importance.
Him and
Trent.
Yeah.
But theoretically, it's for the benefit of Trent.
Yeah.
I don't think it's turned out that way, but I think that it's largely supposedly to get the best out of Trent.
So the way I see with Trent, I see it is that we're almost like reverting back from the inverted nonsense that we've seen this season back to what Trent did for most of his Liverpool career, right?
If
playmaking from right back. That's what we want him to do, right?
Yeah.
So if we quickly talk about what you were saying, the changes in roles of the formation.
Yeah, let's do on the ball then. On the ball,
yeah.
Change of roles. Yeah.
One of the one. So if we're playing 4 up front, right, and 2 midfield, that puts. How do we get the ball to the forwards? It's Trent.
Yeah,
and we've got a real problem now. And as soon as he went off, there's a massive problem there. But yeah, Trent is literally, he is the best progressive passer in the world that plays in defence, but he's probably the best progressive passer in the world. He's right up there in the top 3 in numbers. And the things that we have flagged over the years, one of those real weapons that we have is the connection between Mo and Trent, and we've documented in the past where where that connection dropped off and our output dropped off, and then it picked back up again and our output goes again. And it's early passes between. It's Trent using his capacity, his amazing ability to hit early long passes, directing them at Mo is a huge weapon for us because it creates unrest in the opposition because it's hit early. It makes players turn, and then Mo is running at players that aren't set, and that creates bedlam. And that's just not happening. We are Trent's doing completely different things with his passing, and just specific numbers. I ran through numbers, and during the peak years, the 3 big seasons that we had, the Mo received 11 progressive passes, 11 passes into the final third from Trent per game. And in the last 4 games, he's received 6 total, and he's only had 20 from Trent the whole season so far.
And
so
probably about 7 of them were or 8 of them were in the Rangers game.
3 of them were in the Rangers game, actually. Loads of them were in Crystal Palace.
Okay. So you talked about Trent's progressive passing, okay, and how good he is, but it's now changing. But we've also said that the second best progressive passer in the team is Mo Salah, right? Yeah.
So you've got to get him to the ball early, and then you've got to have runners off him. And we're not getting him the ball early. We're giving him the ball again. Like we've been through dull phases in the past where he has got players where he is set. We have slow possession, and he ends up being marked by 3 players. And then we give him either a long pass and go and fight for that, which is what happened in this game with 50% reception. He only received 50% of the passes were attempted to him, which is shocking. But It's because he was man marked and he had Martinelli working his balls off and Partey was over there to get the ball off his toes and the passes were long.
Yeah.
So he's just fighting off scraps.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, if you're expecting someone, and Klopp seems to be suggesting this with the 4-4-2, if out of possession, we're then going back into it and he's playing as a left forward Ray Houghton, there's no point in Trent giving him a quick ball because it's not going to be in space. He's then got to dribble past 2-3 players in a lot of area.
He was in his own half, so Trent can't pass him the ball because he's 3 feet away.
It makes it completely ineffective, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's receiving the ball a lot deeper in this game than he was in Rangers.
We want him on the turn, pushing their fullback when Trent's playing that ball.
Yeah, but
we want him in the half space.
Is it just all a product though, Barts, of basically Martinelli because he's really fast and quite good, and so basically Saka was back deep quite a lot of the time. Is it just a byproduct of that?
I mean, we can't not. Arsenal are a good side, right? I think we can all sit here and say they're a good side, and those two are very good wingers. So yes, in this system, Mo had to do the defensive work.
Yeah,
and therefore he is deep. If you look at the pass maps, whatever you want to look at, he's receiving it a whole zone lower than he was against Rangers. Yes, Rangers are shit, but still, that shows you, I think, Arsenal's quality, but equally our inability to find Mo far up the pitch, which means he can't connect with Núñez or Jota, and they become very isolated, as a 2 dots, nothing really going through them. Núñez is the only one that happens to be in and around, 14, whatever you want to call it, if you want to go that far. Whereas in Rangers, we had a lot of our attacking players in and around those key in the half spaces and in the zone. So I know Rangers are crap, but still, yes, some of it is Arsenal, but equally our inability to just get up the pitch. I mean, then maybe that goes back to the tactical change where we've sat off, as Si said, we sat off a bit, so we're a bit deeper. And the pitch is then longer for us to get into those key areas. I don't know. It was for me, that was a big change from the Rangers. I mean,
as good as player as Ray Houghton was, he wasn't anywhere near the highest paid player in that Liverpool FC team. For example,
no, he wasn't.
John Barnes, John Aldridge, Alan Hansen. Anyway, but point is we're paying a player £17 million a year to shuttle up and to do shuttle runs on the right flank, right? Can you see a way in this new tactical shape of getting a better return on that £17 million a year?
I'm not. We try and avoid playing FIFA, but we said last week, Mo in the 10 for me is just do it.
So play the double pivot.
Play the double pivot. If he wants to do double pivot for all the reasons,
get Harvey to do shuttle runs up and down the right flank instead.
Well, we're limited now because of options of injuries, right? Okay, and that is going to play a big part going forward. But we have Gomez there, so he should defensively. That's a bit harsh on Trent because I don't think there's been a lot.
But if you would play 4-4-2, you could play Harvey Elliott wide right.
You could, yeah. He's not going to get. He hasn't got the breakaway pace to do that. That's just
but if you're playing right mid,
exactly. If you're doing right mid,
Salah as a 10 behind Núñez, and then Elliott and Gomez on the right. Trying to feed Salah all the time. Thiago trying to feed Salah. Henderson.
Si, what do you think about that?
Babs trying to feed Salah.
It's a bit FIFA, but
Si, what do you think?
I don't even think it's FIFA. I think it's what he did at Roma. I don't understand why I'm not doing it.
Well, he played as a 9. He played as a 10 behind. Was it Edin Dzeko?
Yeah, it was.
Dzeko, and he was brilliant.
Brilliant, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
I don't get why we're not doing it. So I'm just saying it. Last week we said this not be FIFA.
That convinced Edwards to convince Klopp that he was
to sign him. Yeah, he was.
And Jota had never done this in his life.
I think with our injuries, we've got to do something like that. We have to do something like that. Or you go for a 3 like that.
Well, Jota basically played left wing supporting in an interior supporting Jimenez at Wolves. That was his main role at Wolves for 2 years. So
exactly.
I mean,
wasn't he a right winger?
No, left.
Cut in, didn't he? He was inverted. But I think with the
all right.
With the personnel we've got, both midfield and forward now, and at the back, that makes so much sense to do that. What do we do that?
So if you just think of the opportunities that we had, like the numbers wise in this game, we were not very good. You guys were a little bit higher than me in the first half with the things we did, but we created 0.6 XG. Yeah. And in the second half, we had 1 shot. It went in. It was a very nice shot. It was a well-worked goal, but that was it. Yeah. What we did do, we created some sterile possession, but then we created 7 opportunities that, if we talk about that, the allowing them to bring the ball out, which to create their high line for us to pass through, that worked. We on 7 occasions we had the opportunity to make a through ball. Do you know how many through balls we made in the game?
None.
Sorry, none.
Exactly, none. Yeah. And Diaz has got. I know I'm banging on about this. I don't mean to criticize the lad. I've said 100 times he's a street baller and he might win us 10 games this season with his genius. But very, very, very simple passes that he doesn't attempt. Jota absolutely has the ability to do it. We've seen it a few times.
But
very simple passes.
But is it primary to create attack in transition, counter-attack situations? Because Diaz was good in the counter-attack situations.
Yeah, but it's what he does. Sorry. It's just what he does when he's in the position to make the critical decision. You can get all the counter you want, but if he's going to have blam a shot or cut inside, take a shot,
get you off the pitch.
It's not worth it.
He did get the assist for the goal.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But I'm saying twice before that we should have had 2 tappings, but he made the wrong call.
The thing that we were brilliant at for 5 years was without needing to be brilliant, we made the right decision. We took the thing the opposition gave us. Here's the opportunity you're giving us. Just do that simple thing and we will score. And we are going for the more complicated version of that thing now.
Mane to do that take a bit of time for Firmino to learn
one season
movements. Did that take them a few games to get used to?
There's one pre-season.
But I'm saying it's the easy thing. We're turning down the easy option to do a harder thing.
No, I agree. Watching the pressing, the one of the most concerning things was the on-ball decision making.
I mean, don't get it wrong. It's not just Diaz. Nunes.
Yeah, I think it's Diaz and Jota more than Nunes, but yeah.
Yeah, but Nunes takes ridiculous. He takes a lot of shots. Great, brilliant. But when you're out wide and there's 2 players making a run in the box, pull it across the box.
Don't take a ridiculous shot. Nunes is putting some great crosses into the box in the last 2 games.
Yeah. I'm just saying, in Arsenal in the first half, there was 2 instances he could have pulled it across, and he chose to shoot from a wide angle.
He does. He shoots too much for my liking, for sure.
Good shot.
He did, but Mo also took a shot when he dribbled past 2 players and shot. So
sure.
I think that's because it was the only time he got with
the only time he got in there.
Yeah. which is the thing that a minute later we scored. We scored because he had actually caused them stress.
Yeah.
Right. So, what are we saying? We're saying that the biggest problem on the ball in this game was Jota. So we don't. So I said in the chat that is he now Dirk Kuyt / Park Ji-sung? Is he basically just a defensive forward to try and help with, like we said last week, the negative transition? Is that the primary role of Jota in this setup?
What, in the middle, you're saying?
Yeah, and it seems like a big waste of his talent.
That seems a big,
because Bobby could do that, right?
Let me ask an extra question. I think he and Darwin are very, very similar with different physical sizes.
I agree with you.
I don't know why we can play. I don't know. I've never seen a team that could play 2 of them.
No, I don't know how we fit 2 9s. Can you? You can't play 2 9s. It was always a 9 and a 10, wasn't it?
But I don't mind Jota coming in off the left.
He's going to have to, isn't he?
I don't mind that. I think
that's his best role.
Yeah,
I think that's slightly different. That was his role at Wolves, but I think it's slightly different. Asking him not to do that Kuyt role just behind whoever it may be in front of him, a Torres or whatever. But I think those 2 together as a 9 and a 10 and too frustrating.
I agree with you, Rhodesy. I actually think this is probably the harder decision for Klopp to make. Now he's got an injury to Diaz, as he's out there. Could you put Jota there? Right. So Bobby has to play in the middle. Do you put Mo in there? So therefore you put Harvey out wide right. Bobby can't do twice a week. That's your problem.
But then he's probably going to end up playing Elliot as the 10.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. So you
can see it now, can't you?
Whereas I think Baby Fab's a better 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Why? So do I.
Baby Fab could be amazing in there, but we started off worrying about the midfield, right? Actually, by going to a 2, that's a very simple decision. Baby Fab could be good in there. I still rather play Mo in there, but regardless.
No,
Does Trent's injury
play Baby Fab as a 10 and more just staying high. Don't do any defending. Let Gomez do it. Let the right-sided midfield cover, and then whether that be Fab or Henderson, and then so then that gives you the out ball to Moore, and it also gives you the ball to Carvalho, and then you can work it from there. That's what I'd prefer, but God, it feels so weird after all these pods to be questioning Klopp's.
Well, that's what we said at the beginning, wasn't it? This feels worse than the 6 defeats in a row.
I struggle when I listen to people criticising managers as if I know more than them, but I think we have to do it.
Okay. So in terms of trying to credit the manager, then we've talked a lot about the deliberate setup here and the shape and the decisions that have been made. Both the goals in this match came from rapid attacking transitions, right? Counter-attacks.
Yeah.
And we managed to pull Arsenal onto us to a large degree, break, and then get in a good transition moment, right? So that has to be a success in the attacking sense. So I guess if that's a success, Bart, why did we fail so dismally in attack in the last 35 minutes of the match? Did we just run out of legs?
I think some of that. I think we also... What we 3-2 down at that time? You saw it is 3-2.
Yeah, because the last shot was 58 minutes, wasn't it?
58 minutes. I think
it was the only shot in the second half.
No, 53 minutes, wasn't it?
And then we had 2 in injury time at 96 and 97. But it's relevant. I think some of it is physical, but I think Klopp panicked. I think he made too many changes trying to solve it. And I don't think any of it worked. Well, I mean, some of the pass maps, the rest of it, are just horrendous. For the last period of time, the apps, there's no connections. Shapes horrendous.
Brilliant pass maps there for
it's just
clubs and stuff. And
I mean, that last period you're talking about, Darth, you've got Henderson and Firmino in the 2 half spaces with Nunes on his own and no other connections building up to it. Yeah. It's just, I genuinely think at that point, I don't know what he was thinking. I can only think he's just in panic mode.
So let's go through them then, right? So the subs it was first of all, Bobby came on for Diaz.
For Diaz, yeah. I mean, that's 2 minutes for half time. And then Gomez because Trent went off at half time. So
Gomez was on 46 minutes. And then 69 minutes, it was Canati on for Matip, another injury.
Yeah. So can I just interject here? You've taken 3 of our biggest progressive meters per touch players off the pitch.
Yeah. Massively.
Salah off for Fabinho, so it just became. I thought every sub made us progressively worse, Bots.
I absolutely agree with you. There's no remnants of any improvement in the system, whether you do it as a whole of a half, break it down by minute. There's nothing got better.
And in reality, in hindsight, if I'm being really objective about this, is that we ceased to take the game to Arsenal as soon as Diaz got injured and had to go off.
Yeah, because when all else fails, he was the outball in the left-hand channel.
Yeah, and it was him, and Nunes couldn't do it on his own, and it was those two together that was causing the problem.
And then when you don't have that,
they scored just before half-time.
Yeah, I think that's crucial, Dan.
That was crucial.
They just scored before half-time after stupid mistakes from us because we're the dumbest team alive right now.
Yeah, but we spent the whole first half 1 goal behind.
This goal was
the second goal for them,
yeah, their second goal because it comes from our free kick. So Jota dribbles past 2 players and gets absolutely clattered on the touchline, and then we put a free kick in, and it's just a knockdown header from Matip that's intercepted by them, and then they break on us, and Tsimikas ends up defending 3, and Henderson and Trent seem to be in a really good position to sort out Martinelli, and he just dummies them both.
Cuts back.
Whatever happened to tactical yellows?
That's what I'm saying. Higher up, you've got
down. Absolutely, especially on
Thiago misses him.
Thiago Muller's Xhaka, I think it is, and
but he misses the tackle on
and then Matip Muller's somebody else in the as well, and they both stay on the pitch. It was Jesus that Thiago kicked, and for the only time in the game, he didn't go down when somebody breathed on him.
Yeah.
And then because they're smart enough, they know that's how resilient they actually are when they need to be. So they actually did get taken out twice, but not hard enough.
Yeah,
they got properly fouled.
Why wasn't the man on the ball taken out?
They were.
They
Was
they got clattered.
Thiago.
He just nipped past them and then played the ball in down the channel. We had two opportunities. As I said, we gave it pretty good chance. I mean, you got centre half and Thiago flying at you.
But Hendo could have cleaned out Martinelli. Would have only got a yellow.
Should have done
before as well.
Should have done, yeah. Before when he broke into the final third, should have clipped him then.
It was the fourth minute of injury time. He could have taken the yellow, go in at half time.
Going at half time. We defend the free kick, job done. But he doesn't.
Tell you what we should have done. Not gone up for the free kick and just allowed the attackers to go and see what they can do.
Yeah,
I was about to say,
Virgil and Matip
to do what they do.
Virgil and
Matip both went up, didn't they?
Yeah, and again, I wrote that down as my final point. Is saying all of that. Why the hell are we sending both our centre halves up for the last minute of the half? Don't do that. One or even.
So I don't mind us because we've
but not the last minute of the half.
Such a threat from set pieces. I don't mind.
Put a better ball.
I'm not gonna scoreboard journalist this. If we think we've got an advantage in set pieces, we should do that. But I would say we haven't discussed any of the penalty incidents.
Just finish this incident first, please.
Yep.
Just finish the second goal first.
Yeah. It was shocking. Yeah.
So the problem is that I think Hendo should have eliminated the problem at source by fouling him, fouling Martinelli, and then Trent makes up everybody else's mind for them with going across two back up Hendo, because if they just stay 3-on-3, chances are Arsenal don't score in that situation if it's 3-on-3. But yeah.
Yeah, if both those two players manage to stop him cutting back and getting the ball across, it's sorted, isn't it? And
the thing is that Martinelli cuts back, right? So I'm not disposing Trent to blame or anyone actually. So Martinelli cuts back, takes out both our players. So it's 3-on-3. But if he does that anyway with Trent in the middle, there's a good chance he finds a player and it's an easy tap in anyway.
Exactly. And also,
because Martinelli's that good.
And Hendo ends up playing Saka on anyway.
Yeah. So you kind of like,
which is the worst bit.
We didn't deal with it at source. He then got right into the hot zone. He does both our players that end up going over there for whatever reason you want to argue about, and ends up with a pick of a choice of a player to pick out, and he picks out Saka at the back post.
Okay. Before the penalty incident, Rhodesy, I want to question, right? Arsenal's first goal in the 58 seconds, right? Why was no definitive offside thing shown for VAR?
Yeah,
have you seen this?
I've heard this discussed that it didn't work.
There's 5 cameras didn't get the right angle.
Yeah. So is it like VAR in cricket, also DRS in cricket, where it's not loaded, so they have to go with the on-field? Is that right?
That's what Dale said. He said that there was 5 cameras, couldn't get a definitive angle on it, so they went with the on-field decision.
Which is fine by me.
But it looked off, didn't it?
It looked. It
on the still. It looks off.
I didn't think so, but I don't mind. I don't mind you two.
It would be one of the ones when
I think the angle is so.
It's hard, isn't it?
So our eyes are not.
Yeah, that's fair. I think with the automated offside, it would have been interesting to.
If we had an explanation as to why a angle couldn't be found for an incident that was 8 meters over the halfway line, that's pretty central, really. Why was no angle available?
I don't know. I didn't. Dale didn't.
Yeah, I'm not arguing with that, Dan. But
no. Has any explanation been provided?
No, it was literally the correct angle wasn't available, and then technology failed for that.
Marvelous. Right. Okay. So shit happens there. Okay. So the Rhodesy, you went and researched the silhouette rules for us. What did you find?
Well, I did. I posted them in the group, but
we're not going to read the rules mid-match, mate.
On the basis of what you said, but I think the most important thing is we should get a quote from Jess.
Did you ask Jesse about? Did you ask Jesse for his quote about why?
So his son's done he's done his refereeing badge. Bless him. What a ledge.
I did. Yeah. I asked him. He said that it shouldn't have been a red card, but it should have been a yellow card because he got, I can't remember what the term he used. It imposed physical harm basically.
Excessive
So even though
You're talking about-
no, it's not excessive force is an instant red.
But you
He
said about
to
the
me,
penalty.
if it's I said excessive force, and he said no, excessive force is an instant red.
So we were
But
talking
it
about
wasn't
the
excessive force.
You're talking
It
about
was
Trent.
it wasn't. He put in a cross, and the
Yeah.
follow through happened to kick Trent. It wasn't deliberate in any way, but it did kick Trent.
So that should have been a yellow for Martinelli.
Should have been a yellow for Martinelli.
Okay. And then the penalty incident with the hand. Did you ask Jesse about that one?
Oh yeah, he thought it was a definite penalty. Yeah,
So
he said it was a penalty and a yellow card, but
a free kick off penalty will be awarded if the ball goes into the goal after touching an attacker's arm or hand. If a ball touches a player's hand or arm, which has made their silhouette unnaturally bigger. Now he puts his arms out, Dan. That's what I couldn't understand. Now Dale Johnson might have said something different, but that to me, the ball touches a player's hand or arm when it's raised above his shoulder. It was.
No, Dale Johnson agreed with you. He said it's pen.
Dale Johnson just dances within the rules.
The
supposed intent of referees rather than applying rules. He goes past the fact that VAR should apply rules. Basically, he says that they're not there to apply the rules. All they're there to do is support the referee. And it seems to make sense. That's exactly what
He said it was a pen, didn't he?
He did say it was pen, yeah. The other thing, did you see the bit about Oliver being not wanting to be undermined by a junior ref on VAR, which had happened in the previous game, and he
happens all the time.
Yeah, and I'm saying so that the VAR wasn't.
But we're only interested in the rules.
Yeah, we are. True.
The rules to me, it was a pen.
I thought it was a pen. Yeah, I thought it was a clear as day pen.
Okay. So
if they get theirs, we should have.
I've heard today that it didn't. It wouldn't. What would it? How much would that have changed the game?
But it was at 1-1.
The other thing, yeah, I think that too. But the other thing was it wasn't like we were creating a great chance from that. That was just one of those freak occasions that we happened to get to there, and he put in a cross that nobody would have got to.
I'm not saying that, but then we concede one.
That's irrelevant noise, Si, that statement then.
I agree. I think it was pen.
Oh, it was pen, and it was in a good period for us.
I think it was a pen. I don't think we played very well at all. I think we deserved not to win. And all of the decisions went Arsenal's way. I think all of those things are true at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
We would have been really lucky not to lose that game, but we shouldn't have lost that game because of the rules.
Okay, so Rhodesy, Pogmol have said, or Dale Johnson, Pogmol, an official spokesman, said it should have been a pen for the handball. The Thiago foul, did Dale Johnson say that was a pen as well?
I don't know how, because it looked like both players were going for it, but I think he did say it should have been a pen, yeah.
Is this one of the ones? So
they can't overrule it. They can't overrule it.
He said something words to the effect that if he'd been asked to go to the monitor, he would have given a pen, but because the decision on the field was a pen, he's not going to overrule it, if that makes sense. So if he hadn't given a penalty, VAR would have asked him.
This is very quick. This was very quick.
Yeah. He went with the on-field decision, and whether you agree with that or not, that's what VAR did. Didn't find the evidence to overturn the on-field decision.
Yeah, and like in DRS, we always say it's the umpire's call, Rhodesy. Whatever the on-field decision is, it remains that way after the DRS as well because it's umpire's call.
Well, it's a soft penalty.
Thiago is slightly too late for two players challenging for the same ball. And he catches his leg rather than the ball.
But he should never have happened. There's three chances.
I expect it to be a penalty. I can't deny it.
I have to say it was.
So, but again, we fixed the problem at source by clearing the fucking ball.
The bloody ball. Yeah, twice before.
About 14 times.
Arsenal had 3 shots. 3 shots.
They had 2 big chances within that move. And then
and Fab tries that stupid little flick thing, and it went wrong when they came back in. And
according to Opta, they had like 1.3 XG from this little sequence of events,
including the pen. Yeah. So fucking hell, another. Yeah. So both preventable goal should have never happened, but yeah. So just clear the fucking ball. Right.
Well, can I point out, because we're a data analytics show, here, that we were fucking shit in the second half.
Yes.
And I know
Yeah.
we scored a brilliant goal, but we'd created absolutely nothing up to that point. So much so that we'd had one touch in the final third in the second half until we scored. They'd had 16 touches inside our box.
We just shambles. So.
It's a shambles. The XG line is flat line for the second half from 50 minutes onwards.
We were shit.
We were
We just
shit.
were not very good at all in this game. We did not deserve to win. Our system is not working, even though we made opportunities where we could have made a pass and we didn't. Does that allude to something? Does that allude to bad luck? Does that allude to having the wrong players being the ones tasked with making that decision?
No, I think it's good that we spent an hour talking about the systemic failures, the issues with the tactics, the off the ball and on the ball issues. And then we spent 5-10 minutes talking about the penalty issues, because it wasn't that wasn't the decision that didn't decide the game. It does decide games, and it might have decided this game, but that's not when we analyze things. It's about the performance, and our performance
Wasn't good enough.
shocking in that second half, and Arsenal could have had 6.
Yeah, I mean, even without the pen, it was a 2-1 Arsenal win. So,
Yeah, I think it would have been a nice. Yeah, a 2-1 win probably sounds weird, but you kind of go, yeah, fair enough.
yeah, but on the underlying performance, the pen, it should have been 2-1 win.
2-1 win.
Yeah. So it's a deserved win for Arsenal. But even then, I still think the second and third goals were easily preventable.
Yeah, for sure. But there's no.
Just from better defending.
But they had other opportunities, right? We've already gone through that. They just scored on those, and I think they decided to sit off at certain points and say, "Go on then."
Yeah,
and we had nothing.
All their goals were avoidable, and that's the part.
But then
talking about in the first hour,
they could say the same about ours. Our first goal was a terrible clearance, and then a cross that went through a defender's legs.
Yeah, a wise man once said every goal is avoidable. Otherwise, you wouldn't defend.
Okay, so to finish off the pain of this show, Si, injuries. How bad are the 3 injuries?
Oh God.
Nowhere near as bad as you'd expect in a game where 3 players were dragged off through injury. So because of the stupid truncated season, I'm expecting not to see Luis before the World Cup. I do expect to see Trent before the World Cup, because how else would you create more drama for him and Southgate? And
is Trent just bruising?
No, it's strained ligaments and bruising. But yeah, those things heal quite quickly, and Trent heals generally quite quickly. Matip, on the other hand, does not, and he has a typical overuse calf injury. So thank God Kanata is back.
Yeah,
well, out goes the 3 at the back idea.
Yeah. Okay, and have you got any words for Verge before we sign off? Si?
Run faster.
Run more.
Just don't. I think he is. I think he is, for the first time in a long time, suffering from people not perceiving him as the best in the world, and he's probably feeling like he's not playing the best in the world, and he's trying to figure out a way to cope with that.
Yeah,
I'm not on the he is saving himself for the World Cup nonsense. I think he's just second guessing himself a little bit, which makes him a bit slower.
Yeah. Bruised ego.
I feel sorry for a bunch of our lads, and I think we've got, if we should probably do, I think we don't have time now because we've got 417 games in the next 6 days. But if we actually went through one by one the players, our legends, and the players we have in the squad, and who's improved, who has the potential to improve, who's gone backwards, and who is very likely to go backwards, I don't think we're in a good spot all round for our squad.
No.
There's no emoji there, Si, when you said 417 games in 6 days.
Yeah.
Right. And on that bombshell, emoji. Oh, what the fuck? Where's that? Have I lost the sound?
No,
just keep going, Darth.
Oh,
Just say the end now quickly.
all
we'll
right,
cut
and
that
that's
out.
been your Under Pressure podcast for this week. Jesus fucking H Christ. We will be back
That's
next
Diaz level decision making there.
next Monday for a double header of next Tuesday for Rangers and Man City. Until then,
That'll be
up the
fun.
Reds.
Oh.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.